Welcome back to the garage. Sorry it's been a while. You'll probably notice as we go around this video that my entire garage is flipped around. The workbench is now at the back and all the bikes are stored at the front because I was getting very tired of moving every bike out just to work on this and then not being able to close the door because I had to keep an eye on them, which means I couldn't run the heater because I'd just be heating the entire county. So now everything has been flipped around. I'm just going to pop you off the stand. I don't know if this layout's going to work better or worse, but we're going to find out. And I'll give you an update on what's been happening with the Pan-European in the meantime. So, all the bikes are behind me, locked down to the floor by the door for easy access, and the ramp's back here. I've knocked out what used to be my workbench for the time being. I'll figure out a better solution to that closer to the front of the garage, or over here possibly. Who knows, nothing a trip to Machine Mart can't fix. So what's been going on with the Pan-European? I spent an awful lot of time figuring out, buying multiple fastener packs, figuring out which one goes where, because they never come with proper lists, no matter how reputable a pack you purchase. And so what I have now is an almost fully fared Pan-European. I've left a few things loose up the front here while I try and do some plastic repairs on this front mudguard. Since you last saw the bike, I've also been in and taken the calipers apart again, giving them a good brush out with a toothbrush, because they were fine. They were off of a roadworthy bike, but they were sticking a little tiny bit, and so I took them apart, redid them, and I finally put the new pads in, and that's cured the little bit of drag that both the front and back wheels had. That was stopping me from getting the bike on and off the lift easily, which was making me less likely to work on it. I've got some work to do on the fairing under here, because when I pulled this apart, you can probably see these metal pieces are supposed to have stayed in here and act as threads for the screws. They didn't, they came out, and so I can't fix this piece back in until I've sorted that out. So that's on the to-do list. Doesn't have mirrors because one of them's still with the previous owner, so we'll sort that out as well. But all down this side, apart from the maintenance covers, everything's good. Need to pop the beauty covers back on again. Underneath here, this is actually a different set of carburetors to the ones you last saw. The ones that we had on the bike before had a few too many corroded components to make it worth fully rebuilding them. I need to buy some specialist parts which were the same price as buying a whole nother set taken off a running bike. So here is a setup of a running bike with some of the good bits off the other ones swapped in. They've been rebalanced as per the other video, and the bike starts and runs. Up the top here, and again off camera because I hate soldering on camera, I have, for the time being, put some spade connector female side on what's left of the wire and loom on the bike in order to push into the new key and barrel that we fitted that was supplied with the bike. Now I can turn the damn thing on and off, which is nice. Got these side covers mocked up. Just put that tank cover back there before it falls off. And the next thing to do on the bike is to sort out the rear. Now some of you will remember in the first video that this piece here was actually cut. It's probably laying around here somewhere. But whoever had the bike before, maybe someone tried to steal it, maybe it was an ill-advised attempt at modification. It actually cut through this. This is the piece that holds the rear luggage rack and the rear light. So this is a new one. Cost me a tenner off eBay. Easier than welding it back up. And then we've got to put on the rear cowl that holds the lights. And the one that was on the bike previously is, for some reason, I have no idea why it was done. It was cut down. Maybe someone on the web will be able to tell me what the idea of the original owner was. I'll find it in a minute and show you. But essentially it had been cut from here forward, and so none of the piece that goes here was left. Normally I'd say maybe it was for luggage, but the proper ones actually have a flap on them here which allows the luggage to connect, and as far as I'm aware this bike didn't have any aftermarket luggage or weirdness like that. So here's what this part's supposed to look like. It's got the flaps for the luggage, it's got the hole for the rear light, and it all sits down onto here. Here's what the part that came with the bike looks like. As I said, someone's cut it forward of this section here, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. At the moment, given the damage to this metal piece as well, I can only assume maybe it was snapped apart by some scrote with an angle grinder trying to get to the immobiliser, which was located back here, but I don't know. You tell me. The cuts all seem a little bit clean for that kind of thing, and the original owner didn't mention any attempt at it being nicked. I don't know, maybe someone tried to Street Fighter it. Either way, we've got some scrap Honda plastic to deal with. And this to get on, we've got the rear light cluster around here somewhere. I just need to find the right fixings to pop it in, so maybe we'll have a look at sorting that out now and getting the back end looking like it should. See if the lights work. Okay, so it kind of escaped me before I got started with all of this rear cowl stuff. But the one thing still in the picture is this badly bypassed data tool immobiliser, so I thought I'd take you with me while I try and pull it off. There's one big thick loomer cables coming out of it, which you might be able to see, which goes just up where you can't see it, down here, and pops out right here. It is evident from the history of this and many other bikes that this kind of immobiliser doesn't have an enormous amount of effect in keeping your bike out of the hands of scrotes, because even if it does, they'll just push it away using a moped and bypass it somewhere else, or give it to someone who knows what they're doing to bypass, which is never that hard, because all you have to do is follow the wires that come out of the immobiliser. It will have a power supply and it will break one or two different circuits, usually your fuel pump or your starter, and where it's been wired in will usually be covered in an enormous amount of aftermarket electrical tape that looks nothing like the Honda OEM loom covering, as you can see here. So follow it wherever it goes and figure out what it's tapped into. Sometimes this will be difficult because the person who fitted the immobiliser will have done a particularly good job. Sometimes it will not be difficult because a lot of people who fitted immobilisers did it in a kind of lazy way. So we've got our first two wires breaking off here, and those go out to this wire, which has a fuse carrier up here. All data tool systems have a fuse in them, so we can quite safely, now that this has been bypassed already, cut those out. On here you'll see this little brown sleeve. These are supposed to be removed by the installer, cut off, so that someone trying to remove the immobiliser can't tell what each wire does. Evidently this immobiliser installer did not do that. So we might be even luckier and find other stuff in here that can help us. So I think we're coming to our first interrupted circuit by the immobiliser, and I'm guessing by the tape down here on this, the starter solenoid, or the starter solenoid wire, that we've probably got that interrupted as well. So lovely condition Honda factory wiring in here, and we can see what we've got there is a tap into the power line. So this was the one that had the brown sleeve on it a minute ago until I pulled it off, and you can see that it runs to a red with black stripe, which is commonly battery power, I think, on a Honda. And then it also has another wire spliced into it here, which also goes off to the immobiliser. And then we have here another one spliced into a, what I think is a pure red. Thank you, garage light sensor. Don't need lights anyway. Okay, where was I? So yeah, right, so the red one is probably going to be, I can't remember whether red and black is ignition and red is battery, or which way around that is, but it doesn't really matter for now because they look like fairly chunky supply cables. What we're interested in is where these spidery cables go off to, and we can see that they're tapped onto One we've got on a thick green cable, and one we've got tapped onto another thick green cable. If I had to have my guess, they might well be indicators or supplies for indicators. We can check that later to make them flash when there's a problem. So let's keep going. So far there's no broken wires in the factory loom, and what we're looking for is where they've snipped a wire and then taken a black wire off of one side and a black wire off the other side and taken it to the immobiliser. That allows the immobiliser to interrupt power to whatever the circuit that they've snipped into supplies. As I said, usually fuel pumps and starters. I am fast getting to the point where I think it's probably worth just pulling most of this loom cover off and putting some fresh loom tape in it. And here we go. We've found our first straight up interruption. So you can see this cable here that used to be, that's an exciting set of colours, yellow with a red stripe with silver banding, has been taken off, and we'll probably find on the other side, and yep, I think that's it here, yellow with red with silver banding. So you can see these used to join, they've cut them apart and they've sent the two sides off to the immobiliser. That wire goes, I believe, yep, that is the signal wire that goes down this run to the starter solenoid. So when you press the button on the handlebars, 12 volts appears here. On a factory bike it would normally go straight down the rest of the wire, trigger the starter solenoid and the engine would crank. Here it goes off down this wire to the box at the back of the bike, and if the box at the back of the bike is not happy with you, then it won't close the relay to connect the two wires, it will leave it open. So we've got two more wires here that go off towards the front, and the saga of the aftermarket electrical tape continues. I wonder if this loom originally had this sheathing over the whole loom, although I think I've just found a cut where someone's been in here. Anyway, so here's the money shot, hopefully, for the second interrupted circuit. Well, there's plenty of electrical tape. Like it interrupts this wire here, which is a green with a white stripe and a silver patch, which goes into a green connector, which disappears off into the engine somewhere. Oh, it'd be smarter if I'd done this before I put the casings back on. So I got curious and I pulled this side panel off, and yes, this is the connector for the side stand switch. This is the solid green wire for the side stand, which is its ground, side stand switch ground. And then you've got two wires here, one of which gets connected when the side stand's up, one of which gets connected when it's down. And we've got a side stand light on the dashboard that shows you whether the side stand's up or down. So I had a look in the wiring diagram, and there is a chance that breaking this ground here also removes the ground to the chassis, and this ground is shared by a whole bunch of other stuff in this diagram, including the TCS module. So it might be that by breaking the side stand ground you also break the ground for the TCS module. I did just start the bike up and yank both the links that were bypassing the immobiliser out, and the bike still runs. It's fairly obvious that one is the starter, so it immobilises the starter, but I'm curious to find out whether it will still start and run without these two, to see if they're actually doing their job properly. What I do know now is if I turn the bike on and hit the starter, nothing will happen because the link is gone. This is broken, so let's do this in real time, demonstrate what I've been talking about. Okay, so where this wire's been cut, I will do this properly, I promise. This is not a full-time fix. Okay, now if we turn the bike on, hit the starter, it runs. So as for what this is doing, possibly, let me check that the bike's rear wheel is free to spin. It's possible that this is configured so that when you kick the bike into gear, it always thinks the side stand is down, and so it will stall the engine out. Just going to need to move some stuff out to prove that. Righty ho, so one more go then. Side stand is up. All I'm going to do is start the bike and click it into gear. Okay, so there you go. That's what that's doing. Despite the fact the light on the dashboard doesn't show it, it's making the bike think that the side stand is always down, and so the moment you put it into gear, stalls out. Don't actually even have to engage it into gear. As soon as it detects it's gone out of neutral. And I'm just looking at the light on the dash. You might not be able to see it. In fact, hold on. As soon as I start moving the gear selector, as soon as you start to hear it graunch, that's it detecting that I've pushed this. So yeah. And so as final proof of concept, we'll do the same thing again. Okay, so now the immobiliser can't break that circuit. And now we can put the bike in gear and it stays running. So there you go. The two circuits that this immobiliser was breaking: starter relay and the side stand ground. This one's quite crafty. I like this because it doesn't show up on the dashboard for whatever reason as having the side stand down. Just kills the engine. So I'm going to make these more permanent repairs and then wrap the tape, loom back up the tape. It means we can cut out this spider's web of crap and say goodbye to the aftermarket immobiliser. These things had their day. They were good in their day. But especially as these systems age, they get more and more prone to false errors. They get more and more prone to winding everyone around them up, going off, making horrific noises in your garage in the middle of the night, pissing your neighbours off. And as I said, systems, especially at this age, don't do anything to protect your bike anymore, because if scrotes are going to nick it, they're just going to push it away with a T-Max or something. One of them riding the T-Max and the other with their foot on the back of your bike kicking it along. So, bit of wiring repair to do. And then I think we'll be able to put that rear piece of cowling on. Might cut this part short here just to get something out and come back to putting the cowling on and prettying it up, and maybe even taking it for a spin around the block to see what else we need to sort out. Cheers for watching. Thank you. Bye.